Hello, everyone, and welcome back to At the Peak, where we talk about all things family, fitness, health, longevity, dogs, hiking, camping, all that good stuff. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about why you guys can't lose weight, right? And this is going to be a little bit aimed at the women, possibly, because I think they're the most misguided in this situation. And it's going to be a woman that I know that I'm using as an example for this, which is why I think it's probably aimed at women a little bit more than it is the men. But again, the information is priceless, so stick around. Still pay attention to the entire podcast. It's only going to help you out, and it's there's a reason that you guys can't lose weight. Like, you think you're in a calorie deficit and you're doing these things like this, and we talk about calories in versus calories out and how it's king, and thermogenesis, and this is how it works. You've got to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, which is correct. You must be in a negative energy balance to lose weight, right? But it's a little bit more complex than that, depending on how far your metabolic health has gone. Like, if you are super insulin resistant, you're over 40, your estrogen's dropping, your progesterone's high, all these other things which I am not, like, on this, like, 100%. Like, I'm not an MD, I'm not I'm not in there with them. There are far better people to talk to about hormone levels than me. But I just want to explain that when you end up overweight, you've got low muscle mass, you eat too many carbs, refined sugars, your metabolic health's out of whack, your waist circumference high, you're becoming insulin resistant, you're like pre-diabetic, all this sort of thing, all these things are going to wreak havoc on your hormones and your hormone levels, and all these things start to change. You sort of come to menopause and stuff like that. It's going to make it a lot harder for you to lose weight. Tickled. It's going to make it a lot harder for you guys to lose weight, and it's going to be very, very frustrating. And you think, well, I'm really on it with my diet, and I do a bit of walking, and I'm not really losing anything, and I'm just where I am before. And I understand that's like super stressful. And you'll go to a PT, or you look online, and they'll say, oh, you need to be in a calorie deficit, and you probably could be in a calorie deficit. You could be starving yourself. Like, I've known people say they were eating less than 1,000 calories, and not actually getting anywhere. Like, they're not losing any weight, and it's like, right, well, we need to reevaluate what's going on here. Like, you can't be eating that little. The problem is, when you eat that little, you end up starving yourself, and when you starve yourself, you start to lower your metabolism because you're not eating enough, and you start to lose your muscle mass, you become insulin resistant, your metabolic health is in shit, right? And it's going to make it really hard for any of your bodily functions to increase your metabolism or anything like that, and you're not going to be able to lose weight. You're going to end up putting weight on. Yes, I would like to point out that your body cannot lose fat in the presence of glucose and blood sugar. It just can't. It will not access that. Your body's preferred energy source and its quickest form of energy is going to be sugars, right? It's going to take that from the carbohydrates, it's going to take it from your blood glucose, and it's going to take it from your stored liver's glucagon. And then after that, if your blood sugar's full and your liver's full and stuff like that, it'll start going into fat cells. Now, your fat cells are always the same size. Everybody's fat cells are the same size. They're all very small molecules. And what happens is, when the stores get full and your stuff like that, your insulin's going to come out, and it's going to start taking this blood sugar, and it's going to be like, well, I can't put it in here because I'm full. So eventually they're going to start storing it in fat cells, and then the fat cells grow. Okay, so people don't have different size fat cells. Everybody's fat cell is the same size. But it's just how much has been fed into it to make it balloon up, and then eventually we need to pull that away. So imagine these fat cells now that you're wanting to get rid of are full, and they are full, these little celly things, and then you start eating a little bit less food, right? And you're trying to get yourself in a calorie deficit, but you're still having rice, bread, pastas, and a lot of carbohydrates, right? And then you go to the gym, you do a bit of walking, you do some Pilates, stuff like that. That might just have used a little bit of your blood glucose, but it hasn't tapped into anywhere else. It hasn't tapped into the fat stores, or it hasn't tapped into like glucagon or anything like that, because it's been very low in low intensity. Your body will always use glucose as an energy source first, carbohydrates as an energy source first, before it goes to fats. So you must get rid of the excess glucose before it starts using like fat stores. Like, it's that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. It will not touch the fat stores and convert that into energy to use if there is energy elsewhere that you can use first. So it just won't. So like this person that I know, right, she goes to the gym, she hired a personal trainer, and I was chatting away to her, and she was saying like, you know, she's not really losing weight, she's eating less, she's eating better, she's making better food choices, but it's not 100% perfect whatsoever, but they're not that active, right? So she goes to a personal trainer once a week, and when I asked her, what does he have you doing? Now, I don't shit on any other personal trainer whatsoever. It's not my business. I just she was just telling me, so I asked, you know, and I'm not there to give advice. I just sort of listened to what she was saying and took that away with me. I weren't there to give conflicting information to what another trainer is. I would just listening and having a general conversation, right? So I wasn't there to disagree with any other trainer. This trainer basically had her on a machine doing some leg presses, which is fine. And I sort of said, like, you know, well, how many did you do? And she was just like, oh, well, I did this many. I said, were you fine afterwards to walk? And she was like, yeah, I were absolutely fine. You know, it weren't that bad. And then he had me doing some, like, you know, some face pulls with a cable and stuff like this, and a couple of bicep curls and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, yeah, fair enough, right. And then she goes away and she has these meals that are pre-prepared, but it's full of protein, which is great. Protein is king. And it were like rice and sauces and stuff like that. All these things, some of these things are going to get converted into blood sugars and blood glucose and spike that and stuff. But at this point, right, her waist circumference is quite high. She's probably going to be somewhat insulin resistant potentially, and her fat stores may be full, right? So what's going to happen is she's going to go and do these very low intensity workouts. She's not pushing herself, right? So she's not going to build any muscle mass. And again, what we talked about in one of our previous episodes is that when you build muscle mass, it demands energy because it's always active, it's always requiring something. It's going to start pulling blood glucose and all these things, and it's going to help get rid of all that extra stuff a lot quicker, which is what we want, right? So she's not actually going to be building that much muscle mass, but she thinks she's eating a lot better than what she was, which is fine. Steps, baby progress. It's all about baby progress. It's not a race. It's a steady thing that we're doing here. It's like a lifetime thing. It's a lifestyle. It's a choice that we've got to make every single day. So she's not really building any muscle mass. There's no intensity in a workout. So she's not very active outside of the workouts. Maybe a couple of low intensity walks maybe, but nothing much. And she's not losing weight. And she asked me why she's not losing weight. And I'm kind of like, it's not really my place to say. Go speak to your personal trainer, get them to guide you. I'd probably step up your intensity slightly. Right, for you guys on here, right? She's not losing weight because she's not putting enough effort in and her diet's all wrong. For now. Like, for me, personally, what I would have suggested, and if you guys are in the same boat, I would maybe consider looking into this a little bit more or talking to a local personal trainer with you guys, is that, again, step one, like I've talked about this before, strength training and muscle mass is key. Like, there's no point in her doing some really low intensity leg presses on a machine while this guy's just stood next to her like that, talking about that with his Gymshark t-shirt on. Do you know what I mean? Or doing some face pulls. That's not going to benefit her. It's not going to be benefit her at all. She needs to be doing some full body movements, and she needs to be building some strength. Now, I'm not saying she has to be ass to grass squatting and lifting as much as she could. She could just have a kettlebell in her hands. She could be on a box, and she could just stand up from like almost parallel and start building up some strength. And if it's like too easy, right, well, hold this one. Right, get up, sit back down. Get up, sit back down. Like, we don't want to be causing any stress to the joints just yet because she's not accustomed to it. But, do you know what I mean? And then she could be doing some deadlifts with a bar, like something that's going to require a lot of physical demand and like every single muscle in the body to come together and contract and do something, and then go home and just eat some really clean protein with no carbs and just like get them, because she is like she's coming up 50 now, to spike and get all these muscle fibers working and require some caloric demand. So what she needs to be is not eating necessarily less food. What she needs to be eating the right food. She needs to be eating plenty of fish, plenty of chickens, plenty of steaks, plenty of eggs, good, clean calories. Keep away from like white rice, white pastas, white breads, refined carbs, high fructose corn sugar, syrupy drinks, sugary drinks, anything like that. She wants to be cutting these out so much so that we can start attacking the blood glucose and the glucagon stores and start trying to tap into like the fat stars. So like for this person, like what I would recommend is that she wakes up in the morning, bright and early. She gets up, she rehydrates, she has 30 grams of protein before or after her whatever, and then she should go off like a good 30-minute intensity walk, like a gradient hill walk. Start walking, and she starts building up a sweat. She's going to start getting rid of the excess carbohydrates, and then she can go and have some proteins. Proteins, have a good really solid breakfast, some like eggs, chicken, or whatever, or a smoothie with very, very little carbohydrates, if any at all at this point. Fuel your body, and then I would go and do a workout to build some strength and muscle mass. Hopefully we've depleted majority of the stored glucose that is readily available super quick. So when we're doing this, we can start tapping into different energy sources. So like I say, fat breaks down very slowly. So we need to be, you don't want to be doing anything like super high intensity. Like you don't want to be up and down and like burpees and CrossFit and fucking everywhere, because it's going to skip your fat stores and probably start eating into lean muscle mass or eating somewhere else, right? Unless you've got a very, very like lots of blood sugars, then it's going to take that. But you can deplete all your blood sugars and glucagon within like half an hour of intense exercise. When you do some solid strength training, I'm talking like proper controlled squats training, some like kettlebell swings, stuff that's going to get your heart rate up, but it's not going to like, you're not absolutely blasting through it as a circuit. You're doing like a good set of swings, you're doing some squats, you're doing some presses, you're doing some deadlifts. What's going to happen is, because that's not like super high intensity and you're not like tapping into like your creatine systems and your carbohydrate systems to fuel this, it's going to start tapping into your fat stores, and it's going to start pulling that down slowly and breaking it down. And if you've done an intense enough strength workout and you've built enough muscle, you're going to have this afterburn effect, okay, where it's going to start requiring calories for after the workout's done. And if you've not topped up your body with a load of carbohydrates and sugars, it's going to have to start tapping into other energy sources later in the day, because you've got rid of your stored glucose at the start. You've done a strength workout, you've trained, you've got a lot of strength, and you've built a lot of muscle, right? And then you're going to have this afterburn effect where your body's in repair. It's going to start tapping away at the fat stores and start doing that. And if we can do this and build some more muscle mass, like I've said before in previous podcasts, you're going to increase your insulin sensitivity, you're going to be more metabolically active, you're going to become healthier. So building strength and muscle mass is like the key thing here. It was the secret sauce in the original episode that I did. You need to do that, and that's going to start the progress of absolutely everything else. And then your diet just needs to be cleaned up and working inside with it. But again, fat cannot be burned in the presence of glucose. It will always go to that first. And if you've got too much of that, then you're never ever going to tap these fat stores at all. So we need to deplete that, and then we need to be eating a very high protein and a sufficient amount of fats in our diet to fuel that workout. And then we need to get a lot of strength, create this afterburn effect, and start our body requiring calories as time goes on in repair. That's sort of the path that I would have taken her down. And again, I'm not your personal trainer, I'm not a doctor or anything like this, so I'm not giving you guys like saying that this is what you should all be doing all the time. I would obviously speak to a local trainer or whatever and get their advice. But that's what I would have done if it was me personally and she was paying for me for information. That's what I would have done. But yeah, so I would have reduced the carbohydrates down. I would have cut out all the refined crap that would have gone straight away. Increased strength training, built some muscle mass. Again, secret sauce to everything to do with health, fitness, and aging well and longevity is building strength and muscle mass. I cannot preach that enough. And then cleaning up your diet after, getting rid of like the carbohydrates that she just did not need at that point. She didn't need to be like things came as big rice bowls, and she would just eating rice again and after a workout and just filling it all back up. You're not giving your body any time to start tapping into them fat stores because of metabolic health was in the position it was in. So you just need to do some sort of like a reset to get back to the basics. And that's what I would have done. That's what I would have advised her to do if she was paying me as her personal trainer. But I don't do in-person training. But if she'd have asked me outright, if she'd have said to me, look, Tom, what's your advice? What should I do? I'd be like, right, well, this is what I would do, but I would go and speak to your trainer and see if he agrees, because you're paying him for his information and his expertise. But that's what I would have done. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys. If you are in this position and you have had these issues, then I would maybe talk to somebody else about this and try and get as much information as you can. But yeah, obviously, key takeaways from this episode, man. Strength train. And this is, again, aimed at women. This is for the women more than anything. Like, because when you get past a certain health and your metabolical health, a certain age, and your metabolical health is in a bit of a state, and you're getting older and your hormones are changing, stuff like that. We need to look at something else. We need to look at alternative methods, because like eating like 600 calories and trying to lose weight is stupid. I'm not going to say anything else. It's just stupid. It just is. Build some muscle mass. You need to try and get stronger. You can do that at home, like I said, with some kettlebells, with some decent weighted kettlebells and things like that. Increase and sort your diet out. Like, increase your protein intake. Get your clean proteins up there. Have good fats. Get your oily fish in there. Oily fish, eggs, avocados, coconut oils, butter. All the healthy fats. Get them. High proteins. Steak, chicken, all the good stuff. And really try and dial in on what carbohydrates you're eating. I would use maybe carbohydrates from just fruits, and get your fiber from fruits. I wouldn't bother so much about trying to eat rice, pastas, breads and stuff like that, because they can be harder to digest. But that's me personally. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you found some I just hope you found it informative. And if you've got any questions, as always, drop them down in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about these things. Let's get into it. And as always, I will see you guys in the next episode. Stay healthy. I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.